So, First Reformed. This is written and directed by Paul Schrader, the man who wrote the screenplay for Taxi Driver, one of my favourite films of all time, as well as directed Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters, which has been on my watch list for about half a decade now. And maybe if Criterion Collection films didn't cost 5 times more than normal films, I would have seen it by now. Anyway, I really like this film, and I'm very glad I did because I've started to feel like I'm liking all the films coming out a lot less than most people, and I'm usually the complete opposite. The lead performances from both Ethan Hawke and Amanda Seyfried were both fantastic. Hawke continues to be one of the most underrated actors working today, while this is also the best performance from Amanda Seyfried I've ever seen, and this is coming from someone who was just in the greatest series of TV ever made. Both her and Hawke's performances felt very real and very naturalistic, and that's something that was aided by the film's largely very realistic presentation. The 4:3 aspect ratio cinematography is brilliant at capturing the faces of the characters, and its stillness really puts you in the middle of the situations, which is helped by the excellent set design that straddles the line between being very detailed and also very bare exceptionally well. There are also some really interesting ideas at play shown through the lighting, ideas of light and darkness intersecting, and while these ideas are by no means new, for example see Apocalypse Now, they still added to the film while being subtle enough not to be overbearing. This is largely a very still and contemplative film, but never comes off as being pseudo-intellectual, and this is definitely the film's greatest strength. As I said, the film is largely very still and it gives you a lot of chance to think about what's happening on screen and the ideas at play, of what constitutes extremism, of what constitutes irrational versus rational fear, and how faith and religion ties into this. But even though the film's loaded with these grand ideas, it never stops being a simple and engaging drama that turns fairly dark and psychological towards the end. I mentioned Taxi Driver earlier, and I think that's a very apt comparison, as at times Hawke's character arc starts to feel a bit like Travis Bickle's. And I don't really mean that as a criticism, as a lot of these similarities are also in films that predate Taxi Driver. Though I'd rather not say which films I'm thinking about, as it might spoil this film. Do I have any criticisms of this film? Well, other than a few minor presentation issues in a couple of scenes, the voiceover cutting my engagement in one particular scene fairly early on, for example. No, not really, nothing that impacts my overall rating of this film. Anyway, I really enjoyed First Reformed. It's refreshing to see an American film that really takes its time to build its story, characters and ideas like this did, and I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. And I think if you're a fan of Schrader's early work, then you should definitely check it out.
Washed in the blood of the Lamb.
Can God forgive us for what we've done to this world?
Who can know the mind of God?